After our conversation, you saw messages, public messages from Trump. He proposed stay where we stay and begin conversation. I think that was good compromise, but I'm not sure that Putin will support. And I said it to President.
That's Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy speaking today in Sweden. He was talking about his meeting last week with Donald Trump at the White House, at which the US president proposed to freeze the Ukraine war where it stands on the front lines. Although Russia has made gains in the eastern Ukraine during 2025, the front lines of the conflict have been largely unchanged over the past 2 years. The shaded areas on this map show land currently occupied by Russian forces. That's about 20% of Ukrainian territory. Well, reports of that meeting indicate that President Trump urged President Zelenskyy to consider giving up land occupied by Russia as part of a peace deal. That's a red line for Kyiv. Mr. Trump has also been frustrated by Vladimir Putin's refusal to soften his maximalist demands. Trump had announced a summit with Putin in Budapest. Moscow and Hungary insist preparations are still underway, but on Tuesday, President Trump said those talks are on hold.
Wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals. They're agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle, the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody take some time off because you got two countries that are killing each other. Two countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens. We haven't made a determination.
Well, meanwhile, Russia's large-scale aerial attacks on Ukrainian cities continue. At least 2 people were killed after a drone hit a residential building in the capital, Kyiv. 4 others died in strikes in the surrounding region. Ukraine said the attacks targeted oil and gas infrastructure and caused power cuts across the country. The southeastern region of Zaporizhzhia was also hit. Well, Yevheniia Kravchuk is a member of the Ukrainian parliament for President Zelenskyy's Servant of the People Party. Welcome back to DW. We heard President Zelenskyy there describing Donald Trump's idea of freezing the conflict on current lines. He called it a good compromise. Clarify for us, please. Is Ukraine actually willing to consider a ceasefire that leaves Russia in control of occupied Ukrainian territory?
Before we come to the actual negotiations, the position of Ukraine is that we need to stop the killings and we need to have the unconditional ceasefire. Russia, as you rightly showed, is targeting deliberately civilian infrastructure, it's the end of October. Probably November will bring some minuses, and they're attacking electricity, they're attacking gas, basically, trying to put millions of people into the cold and dark winter. Actually, it means that they do not have any military success. Why would you target the civilian infrastructure on the whole territory of Ukraine? So it is the ceasefire for the start of a real negotiations and the whole peace process. And as we see that Russia wants to continue killings, wants to continue pressure, especially civilians.
Stop the killing first, then negotiate. I can boil down what you said there. You'll appreciate that from the outside, that seems like a change in the Ukrainian position, because it sounds like Ukrainian territory is now on the table.
Again, ceasefire doesn't mean that we acknowledge the...
Oh, forgive me. Not so much that. Not so much the fact of a ceasefire, but the fact that previously, in previous months, it has been publicly stated that there will be no exchange of territory. There will be no rewarding Russia's aggression by ceding territory. Now that no has become, well, ceasefire first, then let's talk.
Maybe it's worth clarifying, because we're not, cutting a part of our land to save another part. It's like cutting left leg to save a right leg. it's clearly that we're not giving or we're not leaving any uncontrolled territories by Russian Federation. That's actually the idea of Putin that he pushes. He basically wants to obtain the territory of Donetsk region that Russian army cannot occupy for now 11 years, because the war started in 2014 and it started in Donbass and with the annexation of Crimea. So no, of course, we're not leaving any of the non-occupied territories. But we also understand that there should be a diplomatic solution for the occupation of territories that are right now occupied.
Understood. Right. Reports suggest that President Trump pressed President Zelenskyy to give up some of those areas as part of a deal. Can you confirm to us what happened in that White House meeting?
I wasn't present at the White House meeting, so I can just judge from the public statements. But again, I think that President Trump was actually asked by the reporters whether he pressured President Zelenskyy about leaving the territories that are not occupied by Russian Federation, and he said no. So, we should, I guess, believe the words of American president. And again, I think it's better to concentrate on what we can actually do to bring Russia to reality. And we have some good news on this matter. For example, just, we received information half an hour ago that EU agreed on the 19th package of sanctions. And it will target the shadow fleet. It will bring closer the deadline of dropping the LNG oil and LNG gas that Europe still buys, bringing the deadline closer,
right.
Starting with January 1st, 2027. And also we are waiting for the reparation loan decision, which would be a great help for Ukraine and for the security of the region.
Let's talk about America's position in this, because we are now in a position where President Trump appears to have refused to give Ukraine those Tomahawk missiles that would help them strike deeper into Russia. Given that, what do you make of the current White House's negotiating tactics when it comes to Russia? Are they threatening enough with Russia? Are they strong enough with Russia?
Well, actually, if that was the case, obviously Putin will be, more willing to go back to reality, and the summit would be scheduled. As I understand, there will be no summit of President Trump and Putin in Budapest or whenever other places. And President Trump said that he doesn't want to waste his time to have the wasteful meeting, but to have a meaningful meeting. Yes, indeed, the pressure has to be enlarged, and the sanctions are important, and also the sanctions on oil, gas, and other third countries that are still buying oil and gas. In the terms of weapons, we do have a new initiative called Pearl. Basically, it's the European partners from NATO are buying American weapons for Ukraine. And America obviously will be willing to sell more weapons. About Tomahawk, well, Tomahawk indeed had a sort of an informational influence, because at least...
We're going to have to leave it there, Yevheniia, but thank you for talking us through that. Yevheniia Kravchuk from Ukrainian President's Servant of the People Party.